Welcome to Union Arena match. We have Inosuke and Zenitsu versus Tanjiro and Giyu. Our contestants Rochambeau to see who goes first. Player 1 on the left, player 2 on the right. Player 1 goes first, takes an action point, draws a card to start turn. Player 1 taps an action point and plays a Zenitsu and ends turn. Player 2 draws a card and sets 2 action points. Player 2 taps an action point and plays Tanjiro into the energy line. Player 2 taps an action point and plays Inosuke onto the front line. Player 2 ends turn. Player 1 draws a card and untaps action point. Player 1 taps an action point and plays Zenitsu onto the energy line. Player 1 taps an action point and plays Tanjiro onto the energy line. Player 1 ends turn. Player 2 draws a card and untaps action points. Player 2 taps an action point and plays a crow into the energy line. Taps an action point and plays Tanjiro onto the front line. Player 2 attacks with Inosuke. Player 1 takes the damage. Player 1 has no trigger. Card goes to sideline. Player 2 ends turn. Player 1 draws a card and untaps action points. Player 1 taps an action point and plays a Noko onto the energy line. Player 1 plays an Inosuke onto the front line. Play this character set to active onto your field. It has impact and 2 damage. Unfortunately, I'm still an uber noob to Union Arena, and I didn't read the full effect. At the end of your attack phase, you have to sideline this character. I do not sideline this character. I hope you can forgive me and continue to watch the rest of this match to see who wins. Thank you so much. Player 1 attacks player 2 with Inosuke. Player 2 takes double damage. No trigger on the first damage. The second trigger has an effect that doesn't affect any cards and goes to the sideline. Player 2 plays Nezeko onto the energy line. Player 2 taps the crow to gain an extra energy and to perform a raid with Tanjiro onto his front line. Taps an action point and plays Tanjiro onto the front line. Removes crow to the sideline due to effect. Player 2 ends turn. Player 1 draws a card and untaps action points. Player 1 moves Tanjiro from the energy line to the front line. Player 1 taps 2 action points to play Zenitsu into the energy line. Card effect allows player to add card from sideline to hand other than Zenitsu. Player 1 taps an action point, performs a raid with Zenitsu. If Tanjiro's on the field, it gains 2 damage. When played, if Inosuke is on the field, draw 2 cards, then place 1 card from your hand into your sideline. Player 1 attacks with Zenitsu. Player 2 blocks with Tanjiro, losing Tanjiro in the process of blocking. Player 1 attacks with Tanjiro. Player 2 takes the damage, and it ends up having a trigger allowing player 2 to add the card to his hand. Player 1 attacks with Inosuke. I know this card should not be on the field now. Thank you for tuning in to this far. Player 2 takes the damage, double damage. No trigger on the first damage. Trigger on the second damage allows player 2 to add the card to their hand. Player 1 ends turn. Player 2 draws a card and untaps action points. Player 2 taps an action point and plays Kano onto the energy line. Taps an action point and plays Tanjiro onto the energy line. Taps an action point and plays Nezeku onto the front line. Player 2 attempts to attack player 1 with Inosuke, but player 1 blocks with Zenitsu. Player 2 ends turn. Player 1 draws a card and untaps action points. Player 1 taps 2 action points and plays Inosuke onto the front line, which comes out active. Player 1 taps an action point to play Thunder Breathing Fist Storm. Choose one character in your opponent's front line. Sideline it if Zenitsu's on the field 5,000 or less instead. Player 1 removes player 2's Tanjiro. Player 1 moves to attack phase and attacks player 2 with Inosuke, which has double damage, winning the game. Zenitsu Inosuke is the winner. I think the match probably would have still went to Zenitsu Inosuke, but who's to say, because the Inusukes were supposed to come off the field earlier. I apologize about that. We are getting better as we play the game more and learn, and thank you so much for tuning in. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and have a good day.